Hey, I remembered to put a setup on this week. Unbelievable scenes. But of course it's flippin' raining when I was finally feeling really good actually on the quali pace in the dry. It of course has to chuck it down with wetness, because that's just how the game likes to play it. But yeah, hello guys, I am Fisi, and welcome to another league race in the AOR PC Split 1 League on F1 2016, round 13 at the Japanese Grand Prix. Only 3 rounds to go, and unfortunately I am here by myself this week. Chris, Wycombs, my teammate, is not here today because he's unfortunately on holiday. Well, unfortunately for me, I guess, not for him. For both this week at Japan and also next week at Kota, which means that I have been left by myself to try and pick up the necessary points for the Fisi Chris underdog squad for the Manor team to hopefully still be in with a good chance at the Constructor Championship going into the final races in Interlagos when he returns. Definitely going to be a tricky task though, with both of the Mercedes drivers attending this race. Both of them in really good form. Berg, of course, the man who is going to be taking over the championship lead most likely after this one, with Chris being away. And Slick as well, the other Mercedes driver, showing really good pace last time out. And if that wasn't enough actually, I am using a new wheel for this race, using my Thrustmaster TX wheel for the first time on F1. Finally scrapping away the old trusty Fanatec CSR Elite wheel, which is in theory an amazing wheel, but it's over 5 years old now. It's got a bit wonky over the years. It's seen its best days, so it was definitely about time to kind of make the change. And yeah, from now on I'll be racing with my Thrustmaster TX wheel, which is definitely going to make me, you know, have to adjust a little bit. You know, it's definitely it's still a wheel, but it's you know, it feels slightly different. The brakes are a little bit different, but yeah, you know, like I said, in the practice so far, I'd actually been feeling pretty good, at least in the dry, not so much in the wet, purely because I hadn't, as usual, done too much wet practice. So you know, jumping into qualifying, just trying to take it as it comes, I guess. You know, just trying to feel the conditions, trying to get to grips with this in these 18 minutes that we have at our disposal. Just fill the car up with fuel enough for the session and go around, do laps, and hopefully get at least one pretty reasonable lap time on the board. Ironically though, saying that put enough fuel in to finish the session, I actually didn't do that. You might have seen on this lap that I have not much fuel remaining at all. I've been kind of flicking the fuel down to lean, up to rich, down to standard, down to lean, just to make sure that I can finish this lap, because as you can see I am up by 3/4 tenths on my previous time. Struggling a little bit with the exit of the chicane. It's very, very tricky to get on the power through here. Sliding towards the line for a 3/10 improvement to go from P10 to P6 on the grid. Although still a few minutes left in the session, unfortunately. Yeah, ran out of fuel, so had I filled a couple of more liters, I could have done another lap there, which was a little bit annoying, but that's how it is. Dropped down 1 position after that to 7th on the grid, 0.7 of a second off of Berg on pole out of the 18 drivers in the field today. So yeah, relatively pleased with that lap. Definitely could have been a few tenths better at least. But I think getting to the top 5, looking at these times, would have been tricky anyway. Although actually in the dry, if it had been a dry quali, I would have been actually confident of maybe challenging for a top 5 starting position. But that's hard to say. Anyway, for strategy for the race, I'm definitely not going to go for a 3-stop as the game wants me to do. Not even going for a 2-stop. I'm actually going to do a 1-stop in this race, starting on the hard tires. My original plan going into the event was to you know, do quali as per normal, get a decent grid position on the soft tires, and still try to do a 1-stop from soft to hard, because I had been practicing that and actually had been working quite well with that strategy, even though it's very much on the limit as to whether we can actually do that with regards to the tire wear, as we now have a tire rolling along the grass next to the wall there. That's interesting. So I guess someone will be starting this race with 3 wheels on the car. But yeah, anyway, kind of an annoying thing actually with the qualifying have been wet is that everyone, even the other drivers in the top 10, also getting a completely free strategy choice for the race. Everyone's starting on the fresh tires, everyone can start on whatever compound they want, which means it technically should be an easy 1-stop for everyone, whether they go soft hard or have to do medium hard. And that's actually feel like a 2-stop's going to be faster. But anyway, the lights are now out for the Japanese Grand Prix. And it doesn't look like we've had the best launch we could possibly hope for here. Both the cars ahead pulling away slightly. Fabrace's stickiness and nose up the inside as well through the first corner, as I'm following the outside line. wasn't quite confident enough actually at the start of this race, having come from the wet weather to, you know, move across and close that inside line. So unfortunately that means we have dropped down a position. Bit of pressure as well with the Div behind on the medium compound tire, which should be quicker at this stage. And to be honest, I have not much clue what tires everyone ahead of the top, well, everyone in the top 6 are actually on. So I guess we will see as the race goes on here. But for now, we're just following the queue through the Degners and trying to keep it clean, trying to not lose any front wing end plates, as we have done quite a few times in previous races in these 2 seasons of Split 1. But so far so good, apart from the fact that both of the Mercedes drivers are currently in the top 4, which means we're a bit on the back foot and we're not exactly going to be gaining any points on the Mercedes team in this race. So it's kind of, in that sense, maybe a bit of a damage limitation with Chris not being here, with me just kind of having to, you know, save as many points lost as I possibly can in this race. So at the moment we're only on for 4 points in the race. Hopefully we can make that at least a few more as the race goes on. Nice and flat through 130R in these dry conditions. Fab actually challenging Failure, has gone wide through the chicane, and I'm gonna take advantage by going around the outside of the second part. Failure not getting a good run through there. Dev even has managed to follow me through actually. So a little mistake there from the Force India, and I'll gladly take that. Surprisingly actually, Dev isn't really closing in either on the straight, even though it was pretty close to me coming out of that chicane. So it looks like we are going to be gaining that position. P7 at the moment. Fab has gone straight on the attack on his teammate actually, Afro, up there in the battle for 5th. And they are still going at it. I'm just going to skip to the end of lap 4 now. Missing the apex slightly there on the first part of the chicane, which might put me again under pressure from Dev on those medium tires behind. Luckily I still got DRS on the McLarens ahead. Dev should have a bit more slipstream though than me, but yeah, again, to my surprise, he's not really gaining too much. Might be the case of the slipstream glitch having kicked in already, but I'm not too sure. Oh dear, what's going on? Oh my god, this is a problem. This is a big problem. 2 massive screen freezes, and through no fault of my own, I'm suddenly behind both Dev and Kalon. That is really frustrating. Kalon not having the best run up the hill, but yeah, dropping 2 positions just completely out of nowhere without, you know, I didn't make any mistakes. It was my game that made a mistake. So instead of having some clear air to push, that's going to put me right at the back of Kalon now. And it actually looked like Fab, who was ahead of me, is struggling a bit as well at the moment. Dev's gone right on the attack of him, so maybe I could have even challenged for P6 at the moment. Instead, I'm struggling through the hairpin with a Nuka right behind as well. Little bit flustered at the moment. That has kind of just, you know, kind of annoyed me. And Nuka, unlike Dev earlier, is closing a lot in the slipstream behind. Luckily, he didn't try to brave down into Spoon though, but he's going to be really close on the exit there, even though it was a pretty reasonable exit for me. I felt like anyway, I didn't get any wheel spin, didn't get any oversteer, but Nuka is so close, and with that slipstream, he's going to move to the outside into 130R side by side through here, which means it is no longer flat. I'm going to have to leave him room the exit, and luckily we managed to carry enough speed through there to keep Nuka behind for now, hitting that apex. Not the best line though for the exit. So Nuka again is going to be pressuring us going down the main straight. Hopefully I will still have DRS. No, I won't actually. I'm out of DRS range. Oh dear, that's going to be a problem. Nuka already moving alongside, even way before the braking zone. And there we go. There's nothing I can do about that once he got that run, and without me having the DRS. So that is Nuka through to P9, and that is really frustrating, dropping 3 positions kind of through no fault of my own in the space of that lap. Now though, a little bit later, and actually Berg is suddenly in this mix ahead of me. After having taken pole positions, he must have had some kind of problem, and Fab has been forced onto the grass there. I'm gonna snatch that position from him. Nicky as well on the mediums behind has gone through. Nuka going a little bit slowly as he's following Berg through the exit of the S's, and Nicky as well very close to me. He's all getting a bit bunched up, but yeah, really unsure what has happened to Berg actually. He might have some damage that is picked up, because he's definitely going slower than what we are used to seeing him go. Oh, that's not the right line through the second Degner. Luckily Nicky behind didn't carry the best amount of speed through there either. So for now it is fine as Nicky comes up the inside. Oh there, I had to turn out of that corner a little bit. Oh, and I think Nicky's dropped actually. Maybe it tapped the back of me there. I didn't feel any contact, but yeah, Nicky's dropped a lot of time and positions from just seemingly going a bit too late on the brakes there. So yeah, Berg's going to come into the pits at the end of lap 8. Luckily for him though, he did start the race on the soft tires, so he should still be able to stop this race going onto the hard tires from lap 8. And now, on the next lap, Kalon's been off the track as well. Probably would have had an incident with Dave, I would imagine, considering they were battling up ahead. So yeah, a bit of frustration as well for Kalon there. So we're suddenly back up into P6 actually, at least for now. Obviously we still have to pit. Speaking of pitting, Nuka going in very early actually, considering he, unlike Berg, he's on the hard tires. So pitting at the end lap 10 after having been on the hards, that means he can't use the hards on the next stint if he wants to go to the end, because you have to use 2 different compounds. So yeah, Nuka is going to have to two-stop this race. I'm not sure that's the right strategy for you, mate. But we'll see how that pans out for him later in the race. Up to P5 then, for the time being, with Kalon pressuring very closely behind. And as we skip to lap 12, he is getting very, very close. Kalon still clearly has that slipstream effect, putting me under pressure through Spoon here. Similar situation to when Nuka was behind actually. And he, as Kalon as well, just like Nuka earlier on, is going to be very, very close. And if he does have the slipstream, which it does look like he have, it's going to be, again, potentially side-by-side through 130R, and it is indeed Kalon on the outside, me on the inside, and again, cannot defend Kalon. A little bit closer, actually, at this part compared to what Nuka was. I'm going to have to leave him room on the inside, which is going to compromise my exit out of the chicane, trying to get as much traction as possible over the bumps. But again, it's going to be a case of no slipstream and no DRS versus a lot of slipstream and a lot of DRS, and just like with Nuka, Kalon's going to be way ahead even before we reach the slowdown point into turn 1. So that's a little bit annoying again. At least though there were a couple of cars in the pits, so I'm going to be in P4 for the time being. And yeah, after Kalon made a move me, I'm pretty sure I don't have any slipstream at all, because I couldn't challenge him back. I wasn't closing on the straights at all, but I was still able to at least keep up with him just about enough to have DRS on the main straight. So both of us just running pretty solid laps and doing our own thing. And actually, with those 2 cars, Strees and someone else, into the pits, we're going to move into the top 2 in the race at the moment. And actually, speaking of Strees, he's disconnected from the session. That's going to be frustrating if he can't get back in, because he was running pretty high up in the race as well. Now at the end of lap 18 we got a ghost AI commentator car thingy ahead of us, and actually Kalon from the lead goes into the pits. That means we're going to lead at least 1 lap of this race. Unbelievable scenes. But yeah, Kalon into the pits on the end of lap 18, which means he's going to do 9 laps actually on the soft tires. My plan all the way from the beginning was to actually do 8 laps on the softs, because from my practice running, 8 laps on the softs was kind of the maximum sort of safe laps to run without risking a puncture. However, what I didn't really consider with that, as I just about get a slowdown for the pit entry, was that obviously in the practice when I've been trying this strategy, it was with having done a lap on in qualifying as well on the soft. So yeah, maybe it could have been a better idea actually to pit 1 lap earlier, like Kalon did. As you can see, everyone flying through on the main straight now. Everyone pitted earlier on in the race. Both the Mercedes guys, unfortunately, still in the top 5. And there is Kalon actually, who is flown by way ahead of us. That is an annoyingly massive gap. 4.5 seconds to Kalon at the end of that lap. That is a crazy big undercut. If I knew that undercut was going to be anything like that, I would have definitely gone in on the same lap as Kalon. But yeah, that was really unexpected and very annoying. And we do have 1 lap fresher tires on Kalon. Maybe that'll benefit us a bit, but surely catching 4.5 seconds in 7 laps, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Definitely going to try though. All I can do now on these fresh tires is to push as hard as I can and see what we can do. Purple first sector actually on this lap, as we got another couple of AI cars coming up. Marco, of course, accommodating as well with Ryan on this race, so he's not properly racing. Strees though in the Ferrari over there, he was properly racing in the race. He was right up there fighting for the front positions, I think, until he disconnected, and it does look like he has not been able to get back in and retake control of his car, which means if he still can't do that in the last 6 laps, he will not get any points anyway, because he didn't finish the race himself. But yeah, definitely going to be a free position for me in a second for a 6th position in this race. Unless Sri somehow reconnects to the session right now, which would have been typical, especially after Kalon's just gone past him easily over there. And yeah, purple 2nd sector as well. This is looking like a decent lap so far. Braking nice and hard into the chicane, hitting both of the apexes, oh yes, and controlling the traction a little bit. Into the main straight again, DRS open, and it is 3 purple sectors on that lap. Fastest lap of the race, 1:35.5. And now I've got, you know, better tires at the moment than most people ahead of me, but still, I'll take that as we make an amazing overtake on the streets through the middle of the Ferrari. So yeah, still pushing hard over the next few laps. With 2 laps remaining, the gap down to 1.9 seconds. With 1 lap remaining, the gap down to 1.1 seconds. So definitely closing in, but the time is going to run out, I'm afraid. Significantly closing in under the brakes. Slight lock up on the inside, and then pushing the limits there in the traction zone. Having to control that with a bit of a slide. A little bit on the limit with fuel as well. Running rich at the moment, but I don't think we can do it quite until the end. Down to standard for the spoon curve. So P5 in sight with Kale on there. Definitely we've been faster on this last stint. I did really find a rhythm actually on these soft tires. But the undercut that he got on the pit stop is just so big that I've taken all of the stint to catch him up. Got it now with just a couple of corners to go to try and do something. Not close enough to make a move on the inside here into the chicane. Can only try to line up a good exit out of here. Got to get on the throttle as quickly as possible. Unfortunately though, this corner is not very helpful with how it turns to the right over the bumps in the acceleration zone, and unfortunately there was no way I could get past Kale on there while also keeping the speed out of the corner. So in the end I tapped it back slightly and have to settle for P6 in the race, as Fab is crossing the line for 10th in a pretty interesting fashion. You can see he's very happy with that. And here is Nally back in the league in the Renault, seemingly with 3 wheels on his car. So that's an interesting glitch. But anyway, here are the results. RBK did cross the line first, did get a penalty though. That means Afra won the race, and as you can see, both of our Mercedes drivers, 3rd and 4th, Slick another good race. 2nd consecutive podium for him, that's actually really annoying. Fair play to him, but yeah, with Berg as well in 4th, that's not going to be good for us at all in the constructors. 6 points, still 6th place, 8 points for me. That's still decent damage limitation, really. And normally I'd be pretty happy actually with P6, but before this race I actually felt like I could have challenged for something a little bit better here. You know, if it wasn't for the wet quali, maybe I could have done a 1-stop, whereas many others would have been forced onto 2-stop, or at least it would have been more tricky for them to do the 1-stop. And obviously I had that screen freeze as well in the first part of the race, which did cost me quite a bit. But yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. It was still a decent debut, I think, for the new wheel as well. Felt relatively comfortable driving around Suzuka. So for now, we're going to hold on to 6th place in the Driver Championship. Chris, with missing this race, drops out of the championship lead, 8 points, but unfortunately Chris also missing the next week, so Berg could wrap up the championship there. And in the teams, Mercedes closing in quite a bit. I think the gap now is 23, so that could also get uncomfortably close going into the final race. I definitely want to try and get a decent amount of points as well in the quota, so that we have as much as possible to work with, at least going into the final round, where at least Chris will be back to help me in that fight. But for now, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed the racing around Suzuka. Next time, as mentioned, Kota for the penultimate round of the season, and then we end off at Interlagos. So join me again for that, hopefully for another points finish. And for now though, I bid you farewell. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.